thank you so much for joining me on this video that I hope isn't going to be too clickbaity. I just wanted just enough to bring some new people in, but I think by the end of this I will definitely hopefully reach some people that I actually do want to at least show the differences and push them very gently away from self-publishing, because it's not for everybody. Not saying that it's bad, but it's certainly not for everybody. So if you're curious what some of those differences are, then keep watching. So a little backstory on me. I am a publisher. In a sense, I'm not really talking about self-publishing, but in a sense, it's the same level of self-publishing. I just became the publisher myself for other people before ever writing anything myself. It's a little backwards, but besides the point. We have now, Ninth House Media, published 3 books, which I'm very, very proud of. We have 2 from Joe Vallon, his original Unkillable Joe, and international best-selling author Joe Vallon by Joe Vallon. And then this short story right here by Savannah Ray Newland, which is really cool. We've got some illustrations in here, really beautiful short story. This was her debut as well. So we've been publishing, going on 3 years now. Published Unkillable Joe, the first edition, in 2019, and is now summer of 2020. And in that time, I've learned so much. And one of the #1 things that I've learned in the last 2-3 years is that self-publishing is really freaking hard. Way harder than I thought it was going to be, but so rewarding at the same time. So not to scare you away entirely, but I do want to just talk about some of the things that we have done wrong, mistakes that we've made, lessons I've learned, because so many people come to me debating between self-publishing and traditional publishing, and I think there's good and bad things for both. So hopefully with this video I can shed a little bit more light on that, and you can make the best decision for yourself whether you want to pursue traditional or self-publishing. So the first reason why you should not self-publish is because doing everything yourself doesn't always make the best decision. When you work with a traditional publisher, you can assume that you're going to have editors, publicists, managers, cover designers, interior designers, and multiple people possibly on each of those teams coming together and deciding what your final book is going to look like. But when you're self-publishing, when you're doing it yourself, DIY, you can make it whatever you want, which is amazing and incredible, but also at the same time overwhelming. We've all heard of decision overwhelm, and when you're talking about a book that you want to publish and it's could be your lifelong legacy, that's kind of a big choice. So not saying that you may have bad taste, but you may have not the best taste, or you may just, it's your first time. But if you're going with a traditional publishing company, they could have people that have been doing it, 5, 10, 20 years, and they have studied the market, and they have 5 different editors that are going to look through your book and make sure not a single little dot is out of place. Even on multiple passes, you're gonna miss stuff. Your cover might not turn out the way that you thought it would in person. The typeset on the inside might be a little bit different than some other books. You never know, and only experience can really, really get you there. Unless, of course, you go and you hire a bunch of experts and experienced people, then that's a whole nother story, kind of bringing us into our next point. So let me put a pin in that. But when you're doing it on your own, just remember to, I guess, be easy on yourself and really take your time. If you can get samples ahead, do that. I guess I don't want to get too into the entire ins and outs of self-publishing, but suffice it to say that you might struggle. Putting a book together is no easy task, so you might want to leave it to the experts on this one. Snaking us very smoothly into our next point, money. I love self-publishing because depending on the way that you do it, you can turn it into a business. You are starting your own publishing house, you are starting your own business as a self-published author, assuming that I'm talking to an author who's interested in self-publishing, which I hope you are. But with any business, another few simple statistics that are overplayed, small businesses, 90% I'm making it up. It doesn't matter. A lot of small businesses fail in the first 2 years. It's pretty much expected that a lot of them, the majority of them, are going to fail. There are countless expenses. With any small business, you're taking on a lot. And this is a very special, personal, creative small business in an industry that is a rough one sometimes to be a part of. People are being drawn more and more to media, YouTube, ebooks, audiobooks, which can work to your advantage. But it can feel really difficult sometimes in this world to try and get people to read your work. If you are doing that all on your own, trying to pay for your website, pay for marketing, pay for book design, editors, advertising, reviews, you name it. The list of expenses goes on and on. So you need to be prepared at least for that. If you think you can just go out and publish a book for free, you're kind of right. But if you want to do it really well and really professionally and have a successful launch and reach new readers, go to events, be a real published author, you can do that through self-publishing. But you're gonna have to save up or do it while you're working a normal job, 2 jobs. If you're really business savvy, maybe you can get a loan. I didn't go that route. A lot of what we did was out of pocket. We pulled ourselves up from the bootstraps and launched a business, which has been amazing. But there's the legal fees to starting an LLC, website maintenance, again, the list goes on and on. But when you go with a traditional publisher, first of all, they already have connections with reviewers, agencies that handle those sorts of things, where you get those professional Wall Street Journal says blah, blah, blah. They know how to send their stuff to the Wall Street Journal. Do you know how to get, those professional reviews on the back of your book? Possibly not. It takes a while. There's definitely videos like this all over the internet, but nothing beats possibly getting signed and just not really having to worry about it. The business side of things might not be for you, and it's not for a lot of people. That's probably why you're a creative person and you're drawn to being an author instead of running a publishing company. So in my experience, in my case, I have kind of a different take on it. I'm not the original author. I started this company to publish for other people, but I started it much the same way that any other author would start self-publishing themselves. So keep that in mind. I love running a business. It's a challenge, but it can be really exciting, and I like having that pride of building something up and all these goals that I have for it in the future. And with traditional publishing, if I or my authors just went to a traditional publisher, they wouldn't have to worry about any of that. So definitely, depending on where you're coming from, if you have a business background perhaps, or it's something that you've wanted to do for a long time, self-publishing definitely has a lot of advantages in that regard. But if you solely want to focus on the story, maybe you have a normal job or another source of income that you aren't worried about, while you take the time to query and get published, go that route. And then you can just relax, I assume. I don't know how authors that are traditionally published live their life, and I know there's different levels of publishing where you might be living off your royalties and everything and movie deals, or you're still in that middle ground of I'm published, but I have a normal job, which there's nothing wrong with that. Let me just stop you right there. Nothing wrong with that, you guys. So if you're in that camp, take your time. Do the querying, go the traditional route. But if you are ready to just jump in right now and start your own business that can expand outside of writing, outside of books, then self-publishing could be good. So in the spirit of keeping one of my very first videos on this new channel short and sweet and simple, my third and sort of wrap up would be just the general limitations of self-publishing. There's a level of respect in the world, I guess. Maybe not even in the writing industry, but there's a level of respect in the world maybe when you're a normal author, right? It's very easy or it looks easy anyway, but they have a team. They have businesses of hundreds and thousands of employees that are helping to manage this author's image. So, I mean, really, it depends on what you're looking for also out of being an author. I mean, are you just interested in writing books and sending them out into the ether and hoping that, maybe after you're gone, you get some post-mortem success? I don't think, maybe that's for some people, but I don't think that that's what a lot of authors are looking for. And there's really something to be said about having this whole team behind you. This company that's been doing it for 20, 50, 100 years, maybe, some of these publishing companies. And when you come in as a self-published author, not that I've ever directly experienced like rudeness or any bias from people, but it just feels that way sometimes, because when you're trying to sell and promote your work, it's always, you have to deal with a lot of bookstores only want to buy on consignment. It's always being referred to as a self-published author. It just seems to be separate from traditional publishing. And it is. I guess it has to be in a lot of ways, because how do they cycle through what's good and what's bad? And that can be, I think, discouraging and very frustrating. And I think through talking with a lot of self-published authors or authors that are just getting their start and thinking about it, or thinking about querying versus self-publishing, that frustration can be really hard on you, but not impossible. Obviously, none of these things are impossible to overcome. So when you're thinking about whether you want to go traditional or self, or like some people want to start with self-publishing and then go traditional, there's definitely this hybrid going on nowadays of a little bit of both with a lot of authors. And I know this all sounds kind of depressing, but like I said, I'm really not trying to discourage you. If you are being called to self-publish, then there's a reason for that. And I think there's so many positives still to going that route. I think it's really cool that people can do that. But at the same time, I want you to be warned. Don't go into it blindly thinking that you're gonna hit publish on Amazon and suddenly become, an overnight millionaire. It could happen, and I hope it does. If you just want to focus on your stories and not turn your whole life into running your own business, if you don't have maybe an eye for cover design, or you're overwhelmed even thinking about that stuff, self-publishing is not for you. And if you aren't interested in investing at minimum $500 to $5,000 into your business and into publishing these books, then stay in your day job until your book is done, make it really, really nice, and keep querying, okay? Don't give up, because querying can be frustrating and take a long time too. Either way, you're gonna have your challenges, but I think there's a lot to be said for both. And I think that they can go hand in hand. So if you're still watching this and you still want to run your own business and you're excited about the challenges, you don't mind investing and building up yourself and your business, and you have an eye, or you like being able to design every last little piece of your book, kind of like what we did here. I don't know if a normal publisher would publish something like this with the illustrations and all. It's beautiful, but I don't like having a glass ceiling of people telling me, what I can and can't put into my art, which I think, as far as authors go, your books are your art. So if you're looking at it from that sense, you might really love putting all that effort into designing it, or investing in getting a designer for your book as well. So I hope that I didn't scare anybody off or make anybody too mad with my semi-clickbaity title, but I had to get those first viewers in, so thank you so much for watching and staying tuned, and I hope you learned a little bit more about some of the differences. This is definitely a topic that I'm going to be going into way more in depth over the next, who knows how long, as long as YouTube and the internet exists, I guess. But the sun is going down and it's almost dinner time, so before we go, if you would like to check out some of these books and see an example of what I think are really fabulously freaking good independently published books, check these out at JoVallenWriter.com. International bestselling author Jo Vallen and Unkillable Jo. SavannahRainEwland.com. You will find more info and where to purchase The Monster in Her Garden. So thank you guys so much for watching. And if you liked, hit like, subscribe, whatever's down there, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.